Well, great to be chatting with you. This is our second conversation starter. Myself, Pam Kershaw, and some of the other team members of Urban Saints, Anna, Becca, and Andy, and we cover the nations in service to Urban Saints and to all of you. We're looking at the questions of what can prepare us for moving forward within our teams and groups. So getting us back and ready, prepared to voyage in again to what things can look like. So guys, what are some of our thoughts on that?
I would say as a team, just check in with each other where you're at. Are you as volunteer leaders ready to meet with young people in person, or do you need more time to mourn or to process what's happened, or what are the things you need to do to make sure you're okay before you start meeting young people? And that's okay to delay that, because I think as leaders, our teams are the best asset that we have to young people. So I guess that would be my tip.
Yeah, I think I'd say just to add to that, it's don't feel the pressure to rush to meet back face to face just because you can. Doesn't mean it's necessarily the right thing for you to do in your context. But actually, it may be better to. You may find that some of your team, their work, some circumstances have changed significantly, and therefore, they're not able to be committed in the same way as they were before, and that's not their fault. That's just the reality of the situation. Or you may find that. You've got team members who are living with elderly parents and therefore need to be mindful of what they may take home to them. So just don't feel that pressure to rush into things. Carry on meeting virtually on Zoom or be in contact with young people in other ways if that's what you need to do for a while. Don't feel that you have to rush into it, but take your time and begin when as a team you're ready.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff that we as a team actually have been doing by a lady called Brené Brown, and she is a research. She is PhD Wonder Woman. She's awesome, and we've been reading through a book called Dare to Lead. But there's also just short little clips that you can watch online, such as a TED Talk that kind of put her into the prominence of fame back in 2010 called The Power of Vulnerability. And just being faithful to prepare yourself and each of your team members with that ability to come into the conversation with young people when that is to happen, of how has this season been for them. I think if we can give young people more of a voice to really consider the depths of what we've walked through, because we've gone through a pandemic of COVID-19, we've been isolated in lockdown, we've had all the racial injustice, uprisings, and just such a huge mourning of injustice. We've had people that we've loved and we've lost. There has just been mountains of things that have happened in this 6 months. So how can you as a team do something fun? One of our events is called Shine that we normally do, the girls event, and our team leader sent out to a few of the core team pamper packs, and we had a facial and we had all sorts of treats in there. And maybe it might be that a few of you as team members of your local group do that for one another. Anna mentioned in our last conversation about the giving of gifts to one another and that encouragement of what you can do to keep on building team. Will bring a real resilience to the young people as they see you guys strong as a team. They'll also have a place of strength to take from you guys too.
I think the other thing that we get from that stuff is it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to show vulnerability and to be real with one another. Often in the church we have this thing that we do where somebody says to you at the beginning of church when you arrive, so how are you doing? And before you even thought about it, you say, fine, even if you're not. Because it's not somehow legal to be anything other than fine, or you think they aren't going to want to hear this, or I can't offload all this on that I'm carrying on them. and if we're working together closely as teams, it has to be okay to be real with each other and be authentic. You know, I'm not all right, and I'm going to need some support with this. I'm going to need you to pray with me for that, and just to be real with one another.
Yeah, in my group, one thing we do, there's this ancient thing called examine, where you talk about the desolation and the consolation, the good things and the bad things. And so in my group, we've changed that to high, low, awkward and prayer. And so everyone on the Zoom call or when we're in person has total silence from everyone else, and they have the floor. And they share their high of the week, their low of the week, their awkward moment of the week if they have one. And that's usually quite an amusing part of it. And a prayer request, whether it's for themselves or for someone else. And what we found by doing that is not only has it given permission for people to share great things that they want to tell people, but it actually gives them permission to share in a really safe space the things that they found challenging in their week or month or whatever that is going on in their lives. And that fact that they know that everyone is going to be taking part, it's not everyone tell me something, you know, or just share if you're comfortable, your deepest, darkest secrets or anything. It's just a permission giving exercise where we can share real life together. And I think sometimes as leaders, we feel like we can't, we have to always look perfect. We have to always look like the great Christian. Sometimes it's really, really, really important for young people to see that we struggle with things too. It doesn't mean you tell everyone all the details of your life or your sin or anything like that. But actually, as leaders, we need to be able to be vulnerable and model that, and model the fact that a young person who prays for us is just as valid in their prayer as another leader or a great Christian celebrity. And young people really value that.
And I think I also found that as you share openly and vulnerable, like the reasons why I might not share is because I don't want to seem incompetent or fear that someone would judge me, or, you know, there are all these lies I tell myself for why I don't want to share and be honest. But as I do, what I receive more often than not is just grace and love from others. And that's the grace and love I've denied myself. So really, by being vulnerable, all of a sudden you get poured over with this love and comfort that you've just been withholding from yourself and trying to just get through. So I think even that is powerful for us to learn. Okay, God, I need your love and comfort. You want to give it through other people? Well, I got to start being honest with how I feel and what I'm at and where I've messed up. And that's okay, you know? And so I found that pretty encouraging throughout the process.
And I think I completely agree with that. One of the things I'd add to that is there's something for lads particularly that's very powerful about hearing men be vulnerable. So if guys that are watching, you know, everybody, including young men that are in your group, expects the females of the species to be vulnerable and emotional and all the rest of it. But you know, men have got to tough up, and we don't show any of that stuff. And actually, there's something really powerful about just you being real, guys, with your group.
Yeah, I know that one powerful thing that definitely has come as a testimony to why we open up and we're vulnerable in front of our young people is that we're then showing them a life that they actually tangibly can live. I had a conversation with one of the young people who's not so much a young person now, but been 20 years a youth worker, so they kind of get older, don't they? And I just opened up a little bit about the tough stuff that had been going on during lockdown and where my head was at a little bit. And their response was, no, Pam doesn't think like that. As if you have thoughts like that, Pam. I never thought you struggled like that. And I just said, you know what, Josh, I'm so sorry if I've shown you a life that is perfect or a life that doesn't have these things in it, because actually we're only human. And that actually brought some really fruitful conversations out that kind of dismantles this sense of how young people can even walk in leadership themselves or feel equipped themselves, because they're not thinking that they're not enough because they struggle. They're knowing, actually, oh, I'm like Pam, I'm human. So it's a great incentive, isn't it?
And I think also when it can be awkward the first time. So in the first time we did that with my group, none of them had ever prayed out loud before. Some of them may not have ever prayed before, but as you get used to doing it week on week, some of my young people start by saying, can I start? Because they know it's coming and it's part of the kind of the routine. And so when you build in these routines and these known and kind of, they become more comfortable, these kind of parts of the group, it just means that you can do it as leaders, you can do it with your young people, you can do it with your family, but actually you're regularly giving that opportunity to let off steam or to let off frustration without it building up, and in a place where they know that they're not going to be judged or they're not going to be made to feel like a really bad Christian or anything like that.
Yeah, one of the things that happened in my group when we started to use the high-low thing is I found myself, as I was introducing it, saying that everybody went around and shared, and I said, well, we've just shared stuff we pray for, why don't we pray? And I said, look, usually when we say, well, let's pray in our group, maybe one or two of the leaders will pray or whatever. Let's just do completely different. The thing that you shared that we should pray about, why don't you pray about it? Don't worry about the language you use, just speak ordinarily. And every week since then, every young person has prayed in my group, which has been amazing.
And so really, this here is just then again chance for you to ask these questions and take on some of these tips. Also, the Urban Saints website is full of great guidance on the practical side of things, such as risk assessments, some of the up-to-date guidance on what's being asked of us. Also, the National Youth Agency has some great updates and are going with the Nando's colour system of coding of how you can engage with young people at what time. So check those out. We'll put those in the links here as well. And any questions, any conversation you want off the back of these little clips, please do just get in touch. So what we'll lead on now is to a reflection for you to be able to take part in and just encounter once again God and what He is saying to you.
1 Thessalonians 5, 14-18 from the Message. Gently encourage the stragglers and reach out for the exhausted, pulling them to their feet. Be patient with each person, attentive to individual needs, and be careful that when you get on each other's nerves, you don't snap at each other. Look for the best in each other and always do your best to bring it out. Be cheerful no matter what. Pray all the time. Thank God no matter what happens. Ephesians 4, 2-3, in the NIV. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace.